Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Colorado Sports Connection. I'm your host here with my good buddy, longtime pal, and Bronco aficionado, Mr. David Slade.
Hey Matt, how you doing this morning? Boy, you don't sound too chipper this morning. Did you watch a bad football game last night?
I mean, can we call it that? I mean, let's be honest. I mean, it was rougher than that. We're going to dive, way deeper into it. We're going to break down. I mean, usually I say we're going to break down the good, the bad, the ugly, but unfortunately, it feels like there is almost no good of last night. Just a continuation of, I don't even know what to call it anymore. It's hard to be positive. I'm looking for the nicest negative word I could say that won't get me banned from YouTube.
Right.
But hey, we're here. We'll take the doom, we'll take the gloom, and we'll ride it into the sunset, Broncos country till we die. What is it? That's just where we're at. But anyways, aside from the terrible game that we all had to witness last night, and
Which we'll talk more about shortly.
yeah, of course, the continuation of the streak of what is it now, 16-0, Patrick Mahomes over us now.
Well,
Or is
he's
it the
12-0. He's 12-0, but the
yeah,
Chiefs have
yeah,
won the last 16. So
yeah, might as well.
I think the most exciting part of the game was how many times they showed Taylor Swift.
I mean, hey, I was all right with that. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. I won't complain when they show her.
I mean, hey, we had a game,
lady. So,
and that might be the most exciting part of the game.
Yeah, really quick before we go on, I just want to introduce everybody to Graham. He's in the background. He's our producer. He's the one who will be running our comments, popping them up, stuff like that. So you guys be nice to Graham. If Graham doesn't like your comment, he's probably not going to show it. So
awesome.
You could probably bribe him with some Snickers candy bars or something. But you'll have to send them all the way to Canada, though.
Oh yeah, Mr. Graham's in Canada. I almost forgot about that, man.
So
hey, it just goes to show you, hey, Broncos country is worldwide, right?
Yeah. All right. Not sure who this comment's from. Just a reminder: if you click on that thing up in the post on Facebook to allow StreamYard to use your Facebook profile name, it'll put it up there so we can see who it is. If not, put your name in the comments so we know who we're talking to. We'll talk about the game here in a few minutes. We'll go through the game, our thoughts on the game, and things like that. So,
well, real quick before you do that, I might as well talk about something that is great, and that great is Willow Seasonings and Blends, where you can get all of your best barbecue rubs. Not even just barbecue rubs. I mean, they're good on everything. We got sweet heat, sweet smoke. Feisty Lime's not back yet, or is it back yet?
It's coming, Matt.
It's on the horizon.
The order has been placed, so it'll be out hopefully in about 3 or 4 weeks. We'll have it back.
Awesome. Well, on top of the soon to be back Feisty Lime, there's Memphis barbecue rub. There is
we got our high elevation salt, pepper, and garlic, and we have sweet heat, sweet smoke, Memphis, high elevation. Then we have 2 sauces. We have a Kansas City style sauce, and then we have a mustard style sauce. That's unlike your traditional mustard sauces where you get that overpowering mustard or vinegar taste. Also, to let everybody know, we do have the code CSC 2023 that'll get you a 15% discount. But this week through the 16th of October, we're doing one better. We're having Customer Appreciation Week. Use thank you, all one word, thank you, at checkout. You'll get a 20% discount on products. So
look at that, 20% discount.
That goes through the 16th. So we're getting ready to release some combo packs that will discount some of the products further. So those will be coming out hopefully in the next week or 2.
Awesome. And then also we've been doing a weekly competition with Willow Seasoning Blends for that, the follower of the Colorado Sports Community Connection, and us at Broncos Weekly. We put it out each week. Whoever gets the closest to the score prediction and gets it right, of course.
Right.
It ends up getting a prize. If there's a tie, we do a randomizer. And
right. Yeah. So last night we had 4 entrants. They all picked Kansas City to win. The total point score in the game was 27. The closest to that was Caleb Davis.
Good buddy of ours
Yeah.
from No Huddle anymore. They've rebranded as Saturdays in the Fall. You can catch them on Saturdays in the Fall, talking all your things college football.
Yeah, great show. Check them out. Caleb and James, good show. And I think they have someone else with them. I can't remember.
They've got a couple new guys working with them. I haven't had a chance or pleasure to meet him yet, but I'm sure we'll cross paths here as we.
Caleb, if you're listening, shoot me a message with what product you want and your address, and I'll go ahead and get that out to you. You can visit our website at willowseasonings.com and check it out. And then I'll go. We won't have one till next week. So, hey, everybody get in. It's a good chance to win a free product. We'll post it. I'll probably post it Monday before Monday before the game, and it'll stay live until kickoff. And then once kickoff goes, I lock the comments so you can't join anymore. But hey, join up, and hopefully we got Green Bay coming up on the 21st. No, 22nd. I don't know what day. One of those days. So, but we're not going to concentrate on that yet. We don't want to talk about that yet.
Hey,
Matt,
the streak continues. It's been revitalized. I'm back on track.
Yeah, let's get into this game. Let's talk about it. It was ugly. It was ugly on both sides. I mean, and not both sides of the ball, but both teams.
You want me to be honest with you? I don't feel that it was ugly. I feel like Kansas City knew they could come in here and it felt like they were just walk through. It's just a walk.
It was like a walkthrough practice.
This felt like light work for them. It feels like there was like minimal effort. They're cool with keeping it in these tight little games.
They're running little trick plays on the first series of the game and everything. It's like they're just toying with us already, And the defense, played probably the best game they played all year.
Oh, absolutely. Definitely.
And I'll say that. So that is one bright spot of the game. So what side of the ball do you want to talk about first, Matt? You want to talk about the offense first?
Might as well.
Give me your thoughts on the offense. What were the problems? What do we have to correct? Is it even worth correcting it now?
It's hard to think about it like on such a small scale, because if we look at this is an accumulation of issues that have been established way earlier than this year or even last year. This goes past the Peyton. This goes past the Hackett. This even goes slightly past George Payton. If we just continue to look at this roster itself, it's kind of been a cookie cutter repeat of itself and how we want to build talent on it. Primarily, we look at the offensive line, look at right tackle. Once again, we went out, we paid big dollars, try to get this right tackle to fix it. This is another poor mistake. When you go back and look, we've had Menelik Watson, Jawan James. This has never been the right way to fix it. But when you're trading away all of your capital to get a quarterback who you are hoping to be a top 5, quarterback, you don't have those that draft capital to get them. You look at trading picks away to get a head coach. You're pushing more capital away that would have gotten you a potential, quality starter at those positions. We hear different media members say we need to build from the interior out. The interior offensive line, the offensive line in general looked okay. Most of the 2 of the sacks that came last night were from free rushers because of failed set protections. And then that comes back to where's the communication between the quarterback? Where's the communication between the quarterback and the offensive line? And it just seemed to be everything is always off. 2 consistent seasons, everything is always off. And we want to point fingers at coaches. But at the end of the day, these are guys who are on the field. Russell Wilson is a veteran who's been in the league for 15 years. He should know where to set his protections at this point.
And
I don't care.
And that's true.
I could be the head coach.
You have to look at the common denominators, and it's the players. Everybody said Hackett was a horrible coach. And yes, I will admit Hackett was in over his head.
Just to interject really fast, if we look at what Billy Turner said, let's go back to the comment. Sean Payton said, this is the worst NFL coaching job I've ever seen. Shortly after, Billy Turner says, yeah, that's just a coach hedging his bets on what that roster really is in a less professional manner on Instagram. Right. He pretty much called out that this roster sucks as soon as those comments came after. Yeah, let's be honest. I think we've known that this is a problem. We just refuse to accept it.
And we do, and you have a quarterback who now has shown that he cannot adjust to 2 different, systems. You know, he was good in what they did in Seattle. You know, they played to his strengths, you know. And Sean Payton is a guy, you know, that, you know, he runs his system. He's going to run his system. He's not going to adjust his system to a guy, you know, that may not be the future. And we'll talk about this more, you know, later in the show. But back to the game, I mean, the communication is missing. You're getting out of huddles late, you know. You still have that problem. You had that problem last year. You're having it this year. What's the common denominator? You know, you know, communication with the line, setting protections, things like that. We have issues all up and down this roster.
I mean, and let's be real. I mean, if you on top of communication, then you factor in the overall effort. And I get it. These guys are tired. I mean, think about it. You've been in your league. You've been a loser the entire time in your league. I mean, going back to the Dolphins game a few weeks ago, I mean, we've seen the demoralization of this team. I mean, you've seen Garrett Bowles look defeated and said, "I'm just tired of losing."
And I've never seen Garrett Bowles like that. That guy has always been positive and upbeat.
Yeah, and then you go into the following week. I mean, we go into last week and we look at the film and we see wide receivers jogging, not coming back to the ball when the quarterback is distressed. This just speaks of the overall dysfunction that has been brewing.
So, and let me ask you that.
Years.
Let me ask you a question on that, Matt. And because I've sort of tossed this around. Do you think that has a lot to do with Russell Wilson, his personality, and a lot of these players on this team do not buy into that, and they're not willing to put in that extra effort for a guy that they feel has put him from day one when he walked into this facility, he put himself on a pedestal above everybody else?
Do I think that plays a contributing factor? Yeah, but I don't think that's not like, you know, this is kind of a gruesome or not the best take to possibly take. I kind of look at it as like you've got a splinter that our initial poke is poor roster construction, poor management, frequent head. I mean, in each one of these blows that we add, from firing from the departure of Kubiak to refusing to get a quarterback to the constant failed veteran quarterbacks to VJ to Vic to Hackett to Peyton, it just is like, and then add Russell's, you know, attitude, culture, me first kind of thing, the branding, the social media star, whatever you want, it just festers it even more. It's like now we've become this gigantic infectious wound off of a splinter that may or may not have been able to be corrected several years ago. Okay. This is just like the final prick. This is just like it's just gasping and it's horrible now.
Yeah, and there wasn't a lot to talk about as far as the game, you know, and so we're going to sort of jump away from that and really get into some of the problems because the game was just horrible.
I mean, if you want to be honest,
it was bad football.
I saw one player, 2 players, 3 players. I'll give 3 players credit where it's due, and I got to give one coach credit where it's due. I got to give Patrick Surtain credit for what he's done. He knows that this team is bad. His dad's called this team out for being bad. They're doing his son dirty, yada, yada. But, you know, on that play, even though the player stepped out, who's the only player you saw chasing him down? That's Patrick Surtain on that play. Yeah, when McKinnon stepped out.
Yep.
Got to give the dude credit. I mean, he's given effort nonstop.
Yep.
Right? Secondary, I got to give Javonte Williams and Jaleel McLaughlin their credit, man. They were running angry. They were running hard. And we've seen Sean Payton actually say we want to run the ball more. We've seen it grow each week since.
And we did. We ran it 23 times.
Yeah, I mean,
compared to 22 passes. So
it's growing more and more, which we have friends and different media members say, oh, well, they're not adjusting. But I mean, to what Russell Wilson's doing. But if we look at it over time, Russell Wilson's doing better than last year. Yeah, Russ did his credit, did his thing. But I mean, the system has helped Russell Wilson. It has. And now we're doing more and more to help him. So I don't want to hear that excuse anymore. So, and then lastly, the coach that I want to really give credit to is Vance Joseph this week. He knows that his job is on the line. That he knows that this is what he's got to do. He rallied his men. He's got the guys who want to be on there with Jonathan Cooper and Nick Bonito. He said we're phasing out these old guys with Peyton, and I think he's trying to reset that culture defensively. It may be too late, and I think it probably is too late. And he's not a great defensive coordinator, but I got to at least applaud his effort last night.
Yeah, and then we have a comment, and I'm just going to address this really quick. Said 9 runs in the second half.
You're down 16-0.
9 runs out of 22 plays. We had 22 plays in the second half. You're down 16-0. Of course, you're going to be passing more. That's just the way it is. That's common sense.
That just further, if we go to our next segment, can Peyton and
and let's jump on. We'll talk about can In your opinion, Matt, can Sean Payton and Russell Wilson coexist?
I think there is a way to make it happen, but I just it's hard when you get a veteran quarterback who's coming off such a negative turnaround. I mean, I think the biggest part of the problem, one of the bigger part of the problems, I think Russ is in his own head more than anything. I don't even know if, and I think that does impact his relationship with his coach. That impacts his relationship with his fellow teammates. That also impacts his performance on the field. I mean, he was brought on to be this superstar. They've paid all these things. They've given him this big paycheck, and he's accumulated 5 wins over 2 seasons. I think there's a mental block that is furthering or allowing him to connect better with all the above. And I think that is becoming more apparent each week. We see him become more indecisive. We seen it last night, holding the ball, so he's not forcing it on a 4th down. He throws a pick, it's whatever, but he's sitting there holding it, and takes a sack.
Right. You got to
throw
take
the ball.
A chance.
It's going to be a punt anyway.
Yeah, you got to take a chance. You got to give your receivers a chance.
I mean, they got to give him a chance at the same time.
No, they do. They have to fight, and they have to get open. They have, you know what? But he also has to give his guys a chance. And maybe that's why these guys are sort of saying, you know what? You're not going to give me a chance. I'm not going to give you a chance. If you're in trouble back there, I'm not going to bail you out because I've seen it before. You're just going to run around and you're going to take a sack. You know,
I just think, and it all boils back down to this festering issue of it being bigger. This is bigger than, and this is what I want Broncos country to see, because I have friends that are always like, "Oh, you're just so against Russell." This is not a Russell Wilson problem. This is not a Sean Payton problem. This is a Denver Broncos problem. We've become so focused, hyper focused on making this about a single player or a single coach.
Yes,
but we're discounting the fact that this is a 53-man roster with multiple coaches, a GM that have all failed consistently. And yeah, we can talk about Sean Payton. Sean Payton has had failures so far. He did bring in a bad signing with Mike McGlinchey. He did do, advocate for those. There has been bad decisions, but I mean, everyone was like, I have friends who want to pin this on Sean Payton, and he's made poor decisions, but this is 1 year. This guy's got 5 years to fix it. He's inheriting a team that he didn't build. You can say, oh well, he added 6 players. Oh, whoop-de freaking do. That's not going to change it overnight. This is a bad football team, and it's been a bad football team through the various head coaches we named earlier, the GM changes, the ownership change. And it's not a contender. This is a very bad football team.
So I'm going to ask you a question that's going to lead into our next segment. Is Russell Wilson Sean Payton's solution for the future, in your opinion? Is he part of the future plan, in your opinion? Yeah. Or does Sean Payton want to cut ties and say, you know what, I'm going to draft a guy, or I'm going to go out and get me a free agent that fits my system?
Well, I can break it down a couple ways. And I think right now, if we're being honest, it's really too early to be determined. I mean, we're not even at our bye week yet. Draft position's going to shuffle. The Broncos may or may not get lucky, get a win here and there. I mean, even though the culture is bad, even though we may have this seller mindset to go and do all of these trades, we don't know what's truly going to happen. But I mean, there is a chance that they could squeak out a couple more wins of the season, and that could really rustle a draft position. And the Broncos aren't in a point to, let's say they end up at pick 7, to want to give up additional capital to try to get to 2, because then we're just going to further set back what we're trying to do. So in those situations, like, we're going to have to see, there's going to be a scenario where you're going to have to move forward with Russell Wilson. The free agent route, that's non-existent. There's no way to do it. It would be foolish. You're going to pay a quarterback, let's say a bridge quarterback, $25-30 million over 2 years, on top of paying Russell Wilson $85 million over 2 years not to be here. That's foolishness. It's not a possibility.
So if Denver,
Stidham would be the only exception.
So if Denver decides to move on from Russ,
it's rookie and Stidham, or rookie by himself.
It's rookie and Stidham.
Or rookie by themselves. Yeah, depending on draft position.
Yeah, depending on where you are. If you're number 2 and you get Drake May or a Caleb Williamson, you say, okay.
In a hypothetical, 1 year to guy. Yeah, in a hypothetical perfect world, let's look at this as the trade deadline. In a hypothetical world, you're doing whatever you can do to get Carolina to give you their second-round pick. for Jerry Jeudy.
We'll
You give up a fourth. Maybe you do that. We'll go into that more. But that just in terms of your question, that's going to give you flexibility to maybe come back into round one, Lamar Jackson style, snag somebody you feel maybe has the qualities and get the fifth-year option.
Right. Okay. All right.
But yes, it's time for a youth movement, and we're going to start seeing that.
So then my question is, because I've been told this by several of my friends, that ownership, they're not going to sit by and wait. Will this ownership have the patience for a rebuild? My comment is, this ownership group did not get successful with their outside business, Walmart, by doing everything knee-jerk reaction. They came up with a plan and they executed that plan. And if it took 3 to 5 years, it took 3 to 5 years to get them from point A to point B. I don't see this ownership group as just being, we're going to freak out every year and start firing coaches and everybody else.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Another common narrative is, well, when we talk about cap, and right now they are in the red. There's going to have to be maneuvers to move things around. And they have $64 billion, whatever the net worth is. It's probably more than that when you look at the entire ownership as a whole. Yeah, they have the funds, but just because they have the funds doesn't mean that they're just going to be like $80 signing bonus here, or $80 million here, there. They're not going to give money away. They didn't get rich by just giving money away. They will look at the business side. The problem was, if you want me to be honest, they were duped by the guys that they trusted to be the football gurus. Mm-hmm. They trusted George Paton. They trusted Joe Ellis that this was the right maneuver. They did. They've said it numerous times. And when we've talked, when Joe Penner himself is, or when not Joe Penner, when Penner has talked himself, that he has mentioned that this is new to us. The football side of this is new to us. We're going to lean on people. We're going to lean into the football community. We're going to talk with different people, get different perspectives before moving forward. I think they trusted George Paton, especially with the Russell Wilson contract. And I think ultimately this is what gets George Paton fired. I honestly think he's gone after this season. I do.
And I do too. I think he's gone. I think, and this is just my own personal opinion, I have no inside information. I think these were conversations that were part of the hiring process with Sean Payton. He wanted George Paton gone after year one, and he wanted to give it a go with Russell Wilson. And if it doesn't work, then we're going to eat it, and we're going to cut ties, and we're going to build this thing my way with the team that I want.
No, absolutely.
And there's a comment here, and if Graham, if you could throw this one up about Hackett. So there's a huge difference here. Said they did it with Hackett. They moved on quick. One, and correct me if I'm wrong, Matt, I don't think this ownership group was part of the Hackett hiring.
That's process. What I was just confirming.
And two, this is Nathaniel Hackett, call me Nate, and Sean Payton. These are two different creatures. Nathaniel Hackett was a guy who'd never done this before, and it was clearly apparent he was in over his head. Sean Payton is a proven winner in this league.
Yeah, and I think just kind of divvying back to what you said, that this was a hire. And if we go back and we look at the two moves that George Paton did prior to ownership being here, one, Nathaniel Hackett was hired, and two, Russell Wilson was traded for before the ownership group was even involved. So those are two moves. So at the end of the day, these are two decisions that they may not – they like, we didn't make these calls. We don't like them. As Dave just said, that Hackett was just a first-time head coach, and they came in, they met in person. Like, this is not the kind of business relationship we feel will lead us to success. We need to get the guy that we feel is going to lead us to success. And regardless of who you follow, there's been this, different opinions on where Sean Payton truly lied. But at the end of the day, this was the guy that they said, hey, not only do we feel comfortable enough to pay him 5 years, $85 million, we feel comfortable enough to give up capital even though it may set us back. Yeah. So this is who the guy that they've invested in. Russell Wilson wasn't the guy they invested in entirely. They put the money into it because they trusted their football guy who may or may not be here any longer. And that's just where we're at.
And this comment here, and I cannot lie, Russell is a proven winner in this league. Russell's done great things in this league.
But every quarterback hits a wall eventually.
They do hit a wall, and Russell is showing that he is struggling in Sean Payton's system.
He's struggling with Daniel Hackett. He struggled in everything that wasn't Seattle.
That is correct. And
I mean, if you go look, if you look at Seattle, in what majority of Russ's career there, tenure there, they had a top 10 running back in the NFL.
Yes.
Help carry. They
And
had a good
that's what he
scheme.
needs. He needs a running game that, and I've thrown this stat out there before. Sean Payton over his career is 62% pass, 38% run on average. That's his system. Wilson and Seattle, they were almost 50-50. So, I mean,
yeah, and there's a difference when we compare, like you hear the comments, run the ball more. We need to see Peyton run the ball more. Well, when you're both of your backs that you are trying to force feed the ball are only averaging 3.7 yards per carry up until last night.
right.
Up until last week, it was 3.7 yards per carry for both Perine and for Javonte. And Jaleel McLaughlin, let's be honest, he's a UDFA who's breaking onto the scene and overachieving. This guy's still raw. He's got a lot of talent. You just can't force feed a kid and say, here, he's going to be elite. That's how you get this kid killed. You're going to burn him into the ground. It's going to be, you break him into the system, but it's hard to run the ball when it's ineffective. And until the last week and a half, it's been ineffective.
Keep running into a brick wall. Is that it? I mean, we're running. You wanted us to run. We're running. I mean, and last night we had a decent run game. We averaged about 5 yards per carry.
Yeah.
We had 115 yards. But, I mean, when you only run 49 offensive plays in a game anyway, you have 10 drives. You average 4.9 plays on your 10 per drive. That's not effective.
No, and it just comes back down to the main root of the problem.
Right.
While Hackett had flaws, while Peyton's had flaws, while VJ's had flaws, while Vic had flaws, it just ultimately comes down to that this roster just has not been properly constructed, and it's been stuck in that constant revamp mindset. Revamp has led us to 7 consecutive seasons missing the playoffs and 6 consecutive losing seasons, trending on now 7 and 8. So it's time, I think, that going back to the question, will they have patience to rebuild? Was Rome built overnight? Absolutely not. No. I think that they have to understand that they understand that this is not just going to be a flip of a switch. We're a couple pieces away. Right. They've witnessed the product. They've seen the product. They test products all the time to see if it's worth putting on their shelves at Walmart. Well, they have people that do it for them, but they get the reports. They review the data. They've reviewed this data. They got analytics. They got their entire team. They've looked at this as a whole. And if I'm honest, I think that they would be fine being patient because, we've seen rebuilds happen as soon as 1 to 2 years. When you look at teams like Cincinnati, you look at teams like Buffalo, you look at teams like Jacksonville. Jacksonville's a great example.
They all had draft capital to do this. We have thrown our draft capital away. And that's
where the problem becomes.
We got empty shelves right now. You walk into Walmart and there's no food on there because, they got rid of all their good suppliers. They just have these average suppliers,
Yeah, on just the basis of draft capital, just to acquire both Sean Payton and Russell Wilson, they lost 6 high-value draft picks.
Right.
3 first, 3
That's
seconds.
going to cripple any team. And these are horrible, horrible decisions, by this organization.
And then there's a question here that says keep throwing to guys who are not open. Absolutely, but that also comes back down to the fact that these guys were drafted in high-value places. Both Cortland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy were high-value picks by the previous GM, John Elway. And if we're being honest, outside of Cortland Sutton's single season, neither have lived up to their potential. Then you factor in a losing culture, a constant change of head coach. Right. The effort's going to go away. Like, there's going to be a time where we're done. Like, I'm sick of it. And that's bad too, though. You should
there's a couple problems here. One, these guys aren't fighting to get open.
They don't care.
You know what? I don't care. And we got a quarterback who doesn't know how to throw a receiver open.
Unless it's a moon ball.
Right. And that's it. And we're not going to throw moon balls 50 times a game. You just can't run your offense like that.
It's just bad.
This quarterback has to learn how, when a guy is covered, every good quarterback in the NFL does this. They throw their guys open. They find a spot where their guy can get to that the defensive guy can't get to, and they put the ball there and they give their guy a chance. I'm not saying you're going to complete it every time, but you're giving your guy a chance. Our guy's not even giving guys a chance. He's eating the ball instead. And you threw out a thing last night that is Russ padding his stats by taking sacks, so his completion percentage is higher and his interceptions are down.
Yeah, that was something that came out from former NFL quarterback Kurt Beninckert. He got ties to Hackett a little bit,
right?
So you got to see if there's a little bit of bias there. But if the shoe fits, we may have to wear it. Like I said, and I don't want this to turn into this is a Russell Wilson problem, because it's not.
No, it's not. It's a team problem.
This is a Broncos problem. This is a overall team problem. And, we look at Russell Wilson. I'm not going to discredit the guy. The last 2 weeks, he's shown a crazy amount of heart. This dude's running around crazy. I just think that there is a mental block that he doesn't want to make a mistake. So he'd rather just run it himself. And when your receivers are checked out, and that's a problem of its own, and they should be gone. I'm going to be right on that. Well, you don't want to play, you then don't play. Get out the game. And I got to hold Peyton accountable for that.
You played receiver, Matt. If your quarterback was never going to throw you the ball, were you going to give effort anyway?
Yes, I know.
Eventually you're just going to say, well, why am I putting extra effort in? If he's scrambling, why am I going to put the extra effort in when I know he's just going to either take a sack?
And this is one part where I guess you do have to hold Sean Payton a little bit accountable. Maybe even this is more of a wide receiver coach, because at this point, if I'm jogging, and I think we kind of did see it last week. Courtland Sutton went away from the game for a minute after they called him out for jogging. He went away for a bit. Yeah. I think at some point, if you're not going to give me the effort, then take the bench.
Sit him down.
Hey, this is Petey. Remember the Titans. Get to the bench. We'll find you.
You did it to Gregory. You sat him down and you put Benito in. So sit down these guys and put these younger guys in who want to play, who want to go out there and prove themselves. Put them in. Yeah, I'm going to blame some of this on Peyton too, but I'm not going to throw all of it on Peyton and say Russ has no issues.
No, Russ, there's plenty.
There's plenty of issues to go around this whole team, not just Russ.
Not even just primarily.
It's everybody.
We haven't even got to the defense yet. The defense is full of issues.
Right.
It just comes down to the simplified problem. This is a roster construction issue. Right. And you could keep force feeding talent all you want. We can go sign the next big name free agent, and we could continue to go in the hole. But one or two pieces ain't going to fix it.
Our success rate on free agent signings is horrible.
I know. I called it out a couple weeks ago. I know.
So, well, and he throws this up. Mims 12 snaps. Well, Mims put the ball on the carpet 2 games in a row too. That's going to end a young guy. Any coach is going to throw a guy into their doghouse for a while.
Yeah, absolutely. And we did hear about that there's issues with the route tree. There's issues with understanding some of the NFL concepts. There is a learning curve.
Yes, there is.
And let's be honest. This isn't a first-round pick. This isn't a Jerry Jeudy. This isn't a Justin Jefferson. This is a guy who they deemed as a developmental guy. Right. They traded back up to get him, but there is a learning curve that he's going to be going through, that he's going to get better at. And at the same time, if you're trying to trade Jerry Jeudy and you're trying to trade Courtland Sutton, you're not going to want them sitting on the bench to give Marvin Mims a shot. Because what happens if Marvin Mims is out there? He gets hurt, tears his ACL, and now you're stuck with this poor culture.
Right.
You're stuck with
and Albert has a thing here too. They're trying to put some film out there for these players too, trying to make them.
Exactly. That's exactly what we're saying.
So and Albert, hit it right on the head right here.
Thank you, Albert. Wonderful comment, Albert.
It is, and let's sort of move on now, and and this leads right into where we need to go. Trades. We're heading into a mini bye, Matt. We had a Thursday night game. We got 10 days off. What are you hearing out there? We know Jerry Jeudy is getting a lot of trade talk. Did Steve Smith just destroy Jerry Jeudy last night and his trade value?
Yeah, no, absolutely. We'll get to that one. So there's a comment here that I also seen that he goes back to hitting on, he doesn't play Moss, he doesn't play Spinner, he doesn't play Forsyth. Well, okay, Cushenberry, we'll start back to the front. Cushenberry, you're evaluating. He's a projected UFA next season who may be on the cheaper side. But if he's playing well enough and you can evaluate that talent to see if you could keep him, that's going to be the guy you're going to want to keep on a cheaper deal. Okay, Skinner, this kid's a 6th-round pick. He's also had quite a bit of extensive injury history.
Right, he just had a core injury and he had surgery.
Yeah. That was Moss.
Moss. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Skinner's had a plethora of injuries that plagued him through college. Yeah, he's active now, but he's also a 6th-round pick. You're going to let this kid Get used to the NFL. You're going to see what you can maneuver. I mean, it's saying Bassie had more experience at NFL safety than he did prior to his release. So, I mean, like, there is reasons. Like, these kids aren't just, they don't want to put them out there to hang them out there to dry. They're special teams guys. They're going to learn the NFL. They have to. Now, if you have nobody left and your body's out, they get forced into a role. Delarian Turner Yell is a perfect example. He's not ready to be a safety, but he had more experience. He got the opportunity. Okay, right. Moss, 2 games back. He literally came back last week, and this is what, his second game back from the core injury. Like, we're not going to just throw these kids out to the dog. They got to earn it. They got to show it. They got, you know.
Right. We don't see what's going on in practice. We don't see how these guys are practicing. If they're struggling, what's going on. So you can't just sit here and say, well, they're not playing so-and-so. Well, maybe the coaches feel they're not ready yet.
I mean, that's what, a third, a sixth, and a sixth is fourth, seventh. I can't remember off the top of my head.
So.
And the comment, this is why you see reload, not rebuild. That we're just not going to accommodate.
Yeah, let's not even talk about that. You know, but I do want to talk about this one from Albert. You know, with Jerry Jeudy, and he needs to be gone because I agree. This guy is a poison to the team. And I was listening to a talk show the other day, and they were saying, "How is Jerry Jeudy affecting these young guys on this team?"
It just contributes to the toxic culture that's already established. I mean, it just further that wound we keep referring to that we've used as our analogy. It just continues to fester. It's just another like irritant. It's just another issue that this team just has stacked on top of each other. Like this is like an issue pile that's stacked 50 miles high at this, or 50 feet high at this point.
Right.
But going back to your initial conversation, Jerry Jeudy and Steve Smith, it just shows the mentality that these players have been able to get away with, the mentality that they've set for themselves. It shows where they're truly at with some of them. I mean, Jerry Jeudy came off the rails yesterday. I mean, we don't know the exact exchange, but Steve Smith comes, says, "Hey, you know, I'm sorry, for what I said. You're a guy who's getting up there." Just the disrespect coming back to a guy who's a borderline Hall of Famer, a guy who's made a significant difference, one of the best short receivers of all time. Right. I mean, he's in his position for a reason. He's earned that respect, and he's coming at you saying, "Hey, this and that, I called you a just a guy. Hey, I think I was wrong on that." And then he comes out with disrespect, and then we know the rest. Steve Smith said, "You're just an average NFL wide receiver." Jerry Jeudy starts dancing in the background, talking trash again, refuses to address the comments. And blah, blah, blah.
And Steve Smith says, if a team asked me, I would recommend that you do not trade for this guy.
Yeah.
Because the guy is mentally can't handle the NFL game, I believe. So, and down here, Paul from K&K Sport. Hey, if you guys have not checked out K&K Sports, check them out. They're out of New York. Paul, thanks for dropping by. Defense did play pretty dang good last night. So, I won't blame them for this loss. The offense was just dysfunctional, and that blame goes all around. It goes to the coaches, it goes to the players, it goes to a lot of things. So besides Jerry Jeudy, because we know Frank Clark's out of here, we released him today.
Well, hold on, timeout.
Well, timeout again?
Yeah.
Was this another predetermined?
Yeah, he's not been officially put on the wire yet.
Okay.
So this is a Randy
Gregory all over. Okay.
So they're still exploring options from what I was told. We won't know until he officially hits a wire on what's happening or a trade is announced. So as of right now, he's not on the wire. The wire will continuously check the wire, but as of right now, he's not been released.
Okay. So we know Frank
that Clark, could still be a trade.
We know Frank Clark's out of here, either trade or release.
Yeah.
So Jerry Jeudy, probably 95% chance that he's played his last game as a Denver Bronco. Would you agree?
I would say it's probably closer to 60-40.
Really? Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of teams expressing interest. I mean,
I think
five teams now.
I think there is, but I mean, depending on what you're getting in return. I mean, at the same point, though.
But at this point, do you? That's what I was going to ask. Do you just? I don't care if I get a 5th round pick for this guy. This guy is a cancer to our team. Let's get him out of this locker room.
Yeah, I get that perspective, but at the same time, you want to get as close to a comparable value.
But you're not going to get anywhere close to a 1st round pick for this guy.
No, absolutely not. I mean, I do think
I don't even think you get a 2nd. I'm going to say a 3rd is his ceiling.
And I've been told, I've been told that that'll get it done. I have.
Yeah.
But I mean, when you get these teams competitively bidding, I mean, it may not. I mean,
it may overinflate it a little bit.
There's rumors that the Carolina Panthers have been the front runner since day one. I mean, yesterday there was a report that came out that said the Colts are also heavily interested. So let's just use those two as an example. I mean, if we look at the Carolina Panthers, they traded a plethora of draft capital to move up to get their quarterback of the future. There's been some reports that they're not exactly excited to want to give away more draft capital. So, I mean, are they listening to potential player trades? We know Brian Burns is unhappy there. With Brian Burns, he's an unrestricted free agent, so there'll have to be a deal worked out further new in the red. Who knows? But Brian Burns is a young pass rusher that you can build around. So, I mean, it's going to just seriously come down to what these packages are involved. But I don't think they'll just trade him for crickets, if you know what I mean. I just don't think they will.
No, I don't either. But, I mean, you got to get the guy out of here some way.
I think it's definitely coming.
He's a cancer to this organization. All right, let's talk about Courtland Sutton. There's been a lot of talk about him.
That's the guy I would say I feel would have a higher probability of being moved.
Just because he's more value to another team?
No, because he has the most money on the books out of the
receiver room. And that's fair.
You got to get out of the red.
We've also exercised Judy's 5th-year option already. So what's that money's
guaranteed? That money's guaranteed.
Okay, so he's on the books no matter what,
I believe that's correct. I'll have to go back and double check.
Defensive side of the ball, Justin Simmons. What do you think?
No, I don't think he's going anywhere.
So you think he's part of the future here?
I think this is where it gets hard. I think they're going to try their best to make him a part of their future here because they respect what he brings in veteran leadership and still playing ability. I mean, we've had some health concerns, but I think if Justin Simmons does not restructure to stay here, and Justin Simmons is a very team-friendly, team-oriented guy.
But is he tired of losing?
I think we could see him potentially get moved later, not at the deadline.
Okay. This is going to bring me up to the next guy, and I know this is a very controversial player,
I know
bring his name up. And it's not going to be a trade deadline guy. This is going to be a draft day trade, to move up PS2.
I already know who you're talking about. Me and Jenna Chavez Jenna Chavez, our great Avs analyst over on Blizzard Warning for Colorado Sports Connection. Her and Scott Cole had a similar conversation in our group chat about, I think, this player that you're going to, and she said the same exact thing draft night.
Yeah, PS2. I mean, can you see this guy being moved on draft night if we really want to jump up and get that quarterback that we want? Can you see that happening, Matt?
Could I see it happen? Absolutely. I mean, it's the NFL. Anything is possible. Anything is possible. Do I think it happens? I think unless that author has you foaming at the mouth, drooling, like I look at, a nice set of flapjacks, I don't think it happens.
Okay.
There are a couple other players that I don't think you have on your list that I would keep an eye on.
All right. Who are they?
I think that's Josie Jewell. I think that's Alex Singleton. And I think that's DJ Jones.
Right. Yeah.
Garrett, I mean, if you want to go back to offense on the other side, I think you could look at guys like Garrett Bowles.
And is Garrett Bowles more just because of a money issue? I mean, the guy's been playing decent. He's not horrible,
I think it is more. I think it does come down to a money thing. I mean, there was reports that he had been approached on a restructure once already and wasn't really game for it. I think if they continue with this path they're on, I don't think there's going to be
an
extended willingness. So that would be, I think, another guy that if they feel that they're going to get the maximum value for a player here at the deadline, I think they make the move. Garrett Bowles could be one of those guys as well. The rest of these guys that we kind of talked about, outside of, if we're being real, outside of Jerry Jeudy right now, these other guys is really just declared money off the books, and they're not going to get a huge return. DJ Jones, maybe a 5th or 6th round pick. Alex Singleton, maybe a 5th or 6th round.
But pick. You know what? A lot of 5th and 6th round picks can be packaged together to move up to get.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen it happen with Marvin.
And like you said, it's a money thing, Well, like you said, we're negative.
Either way,
we're over the cap. We got to do something.
Either way, Russell's $35 million cap is hitting the books next year.
Yes, it is. Whether we release him or we keep him, or
either way,
or
that money, he's got that money. The only problem is that
if you keep him, then
you give him 80. Worse. Yeah, you give him $85 million. The 5th day of next league, you're giving him an $85 million check. You can't break it up no more.
So, good question here, Javonte, and I've heard his name thrown out there. What do you think? I mean, is Javonte Williams a possible trade bait? I don't want to see it because I like Javonte Williams. I think he's a good running back. I like Jaleel, but Jaleel reminds me of Philip Lindsay. He's smaller. How long can he take that pounding?
No, I don't think. I just don't think there's a market for Javonte. If we're being completely honest, there is not a market for these running backs that's going to be comparable to what the team themselves value at. Jonathan Taylor, just Saquon Barkley, Josh Jacobs, all the same thing. Those guys are elite level running backs. But if they can't get a value that's even close to that, we're probably not going to find.
Well, and I even saw something or heard something. Jaleel McLaughlin, he was undrafted. Yeah. If you get somebody who wants him, trade him, and you're getting some draft capital back. He's not going to be. I don't either, but I'm just going to say he's not going to be your premier feature back. You can move on from him.
I mean, if we're honest, though,
and get draft
Sean Payton utilizes running backs so efficiently that he could be a generic version of like an Alvin Kamara
or Darren Sproles or someone like that.
Yeah, and those are key players to what helped Drew Brees and whomever and the rest of his quarterbacks that he worked with that last season be successful. So I would say that Jaleel McLaughlin is nearly untouchable because he will consistently be an incredibly cheap option for a potential playmaker.
Okay.
Yeah, he is untouchable. I would say majority of these guys that are on rookie deals outside of Jerry Jeudy, they're not going anywhere.
Okay.
They are more untouchable than they are the most untouchable players on this roster.
They're more cash friendly to our cap and everything else, so that makes more sense. But yeah, we got some high dollar guys out there that we got to look at. We have to do something. We can't be negative.
Yeah, I mean, and we look at who we're looking at right now. I mean, you look at some of these other veterans. I mean, even look at some of the more recent signings. We'll look at like Ben Powers. I mean, he has played better than what the analytics, I think, say. I mean, he's probably been our most effective offensive lineman this season. And
I love this comment from Albert. I mean, this is true. Miners is that guy's untouchable. That guy's
on a rookie deal.
He's on a rookie deal and he's developing. He's going to be
now. Someone calls me and says, "Hey, Quinn Miners, I'll give you a 3rd round pick, 2nd round pick. Maybe I make a deal." But that isn't going to happen. He's an interior offensive lineman where even the elite have usually a high 3rd round ceiling grade, and I don't think we're going to get anywhere near that.
I don't either. So.
Has Ben Powers been an upgrade over Reisner? I would say, yeah. Reisner really, really, really struggled outside of the one season that he had.
Yeah, he definitely dropped off 2 years after that big season. He dropped off 2 years in a row.
Essentially, he worked well with Munchak and it fell apart after.
I mean, look how long the guy sat on the free agent market before anybody grabbed him. I mean, that's how he was thought about around the league. He is not a good pass.
He's not good in pass protection.
Yeah, and I like Ben Powers out of the Powers and McGlinchey signings. Ben Powers, I think, is a hit. McGlinchey, we'll just say the jury's still out on that one.
I mean, no, that's not the jury's not. The jury, it's been the jury has the verdict that this is complete hot garbage. No, I'm not going to sugar. I mean,
that right tackle position has just been horrid for us. And Graham says, McGlinchey's looked bad yesterday, and he did, and he's looked bad most of the season. I think he ranks 49th or 44th out of
I don't even
62.
Care. He's dead down last tackles.
Yeah, he's not playing well at all. So
yeah, and for him to, I mean,
even where
that is the signing I hated.
He's supposed to be a run guy, and he's not even good at that. He's
past his prime. And we had a good friend who is a 49ers fan who told me, he's like, that is the worst money you will ever spend.
Yeah.
He told me, he said as soon as the Broncos even tied to him, he sent me a text. He's like, you better hope they don't do it. He's garbage.
Yeah, and he is. It could have been. And
I mean, I don't want to call a guy garbage, but I mean, his play has been garbage.
Right. Yeah, he's not garbage. Yeah,
he's a cool dude. No, he's a pretty cool dude. He's just not playing to the level that he's being paid.
No, he's not.
Yeah, his levels. I mean, we've seen at this point, if the money wasn't there, let's say that he was here on a modest deal. Cam Fleming would be starting.
So, okay. And I want to ask you one question, Matt, and then we're going to move on to our final topic. And this came up before, and you said we're not even going to discuss it. Reload, rebuild. I know you're working on some scenarios, how we move forward with Russ, without Russ. When do you plan on maybe having a show or something to talk to people and explain to them, hey, we can go this way with Russ, we can go this way, and what it's going to look like?
I think it's going to be a fluid situation because, we have to look at it. And it's going to, unfortunately, it's fluid because it's going to maneuver each week,
right.
Primarily because of where draft position is. I think I'll have a more clearer picture after the deadline passes. So look for this content to come out somewhere, maybe the version 1.0 to come after the trade deadline. Because if I do it right now, I'm just going to be fixing it in a couple days anyways. Okay. So I'm going to let the trade deadline pass. I'm going to continue to compile my information, my stats, my analytics, and come together with something that I feel could be a plan of correction for a version of keeping Russell Wilson and a version of moving on.
Okay. All right. And we'll look forward to that. And just in regards to draft position, everybody cheer for Minnesota this weekend. We're right now sitting second. We're ahead of Chicago. Chicago, no, we want Chicago to win. We want Chicago to beat Minnesota. So,
and we need Carolina to get a win somehow, because Carolina holds the first pick right now. They're the only winless team in the NFL.
Right, and they're not going to get it this week because they're playing Miami. So,
and then they just
Chicago's playing Minnesota. So let's hope Chicago wins and Denver holds on to that second position right now. So, all right. Last thing for the day. And I want to say, hey, thanks to everybody for your comments, joining in. And I know this is gonna feel some comments are gonna come flying in here pretty soon. Is Sean Payton past his prime?
No.
And if not, then Matt, what is the problem right now, in your opinion?
Let's be real. We know what the problem is. The problem is,
us, and you've touched on this a little, I think.
And I'm going to put this on Broncos country. We are spoiled as fans. Let's be real. We get stuck in this. We got lucky with the whole ordeal of 2013 through 2015. We became entitled. We had the sense of entitled that we've had to be great all the time, and we kept trying to be great all the time, and it's failed and failed and failed and failed because we've gone through this. We're one piece away.
You know what? And along with that, Matt, real quick, I got to throw this in because it's funny. I was talking to a friend of mine last night who's from Ohio, and I said to him, "Is this what it's like being a Cleveland Browns fan?" He said, "Dude, you're just on the appetizer." And that's how spoiled we are, because we're freaking out over 7 years. Look at the Jets. Look at the Browns, other organizations,
It just
we're gonna get this fixed, but we got to give a coach time to do it.
Yeah, and and on top of that, you have to put the coach in positions to succeed. This goes back to post Manning, when we refuse to accept that, hey, it's time to turn a leaf. It's time to phase this out. And if we would have continuously started a rebuild, the numerous amount of times we had the opportunity to, but we've been stuck in this. We're one piece away. We're a couple guys away. All we need is a quarterback. All we need is a coach. We keep looking for these one-step solutions, and they've never panned out. There's a reason why we've had 7 consecutive seasons missing the playoffs, and that's not Sean Payton's fault. That's not Nathaniel Hackett's fault. To be determined on Payton, but everything prior is just a little bit more added to the mindset of what the bigger problem was. We've never accepted this team needed to be rebuilt. Maybe if John Elway had better draft classes, maybe if we had better draft signings. But the thing about it is we kept drafting for, John Elway's draft philosophy could have been throw a dart at a board. I don't know, but he's one of the worst NFL GMs when it comes to the draft. One of the, outside of 2013, one of the worst GMs when it comes to free agent signings. It's just not been good. And that leads to this. But now we want to constantly point the blame game. And there is no blame game. The blame game is that this has just been a dysfunctional organization, from not having an actual owner to having GMs who felt that they were right there on the brisk of becoming something great, to the constant turnover of head coaches, the bad drafts, the bad free agent signings. It's it's just boiled over. We can't put all that on Sean Payton through 6 games.
No, we can't.
He,
You can't call a guy past his prime based on 6 games with a roster he did not build, and and is substandard in a lot of areas.
Yeah, like I said, we were sold on. We've been sold on year after year that this team is one piece away. Whether it's a player, whether it's a coach, whether it's a quarterback, whatever you want to say. But that's not where we're at. I'm tired of the reload. And I'll be honest, I don't want to see another reload.
I don't either.
Yeah.
I don't either. I just want to tear this whole thing down and let's build it right. And if that means 2 or 3 more years of, but
you know what?
That's going to position
Yeah.
us for 10, 15 years, Matt.
And you know what? Let's go back and let's look at this really fast. I know we're running out of time, but just really quick. Everyone's like, well, what if you were the Chicago Bears? Well, if I look at what the Chicago Bears have done, they selected Justin Fields. Yeah, it didn't work out, but they've continuously positioned themselves smartly. Now, if they choose to utilize the resources accurately, that's to be determined. But I mean, Justin Fields, you got a 3-year window. It didn't work, and now they're here. They've maneuvered capital around, and now they have a position to get possibly the best college football quarterback of the last 10 years.
Right. And I don't know what's so comical about positioning ourselves to be successful for 15 years with a new quarterback. I'm not saying Peyton's going to coach for 15 years, but you build this team,
Yeah.
You build it right and you stop with this reloading BS because we're not that close. It's been proven. We've seen our roster against other NFL teams and we just look like laughing stock out there sometimes.
I mean, if you look at the teams that we've been successful against, they're the teams that we are saying we're better than, but we've lost to.
I just ask everybody, please take off your orange and blue glasses. Get rid of the homerism and really look at this team. Let's build this team.
Yeah, and that is not necessarily inaccurate, but when you're looking at it, you're looking at a 10-year contention window if you were able to draft and develop your rookie quarterback. Would you rather be in the playoffs and being consistent and have a winning culture, positive culture, and then have that 3 to 4 year Super Bowl window, or would you consistently go through 7 years of consecutive suck and possibly 8 years of consecutive suck and
I don't think
still not have an option?
I think it's there.
I mean, it comes down to that. And it's not. No one is saying Elway is a bad GM. He bought a Super Bowl. He set the new way to get a Super Bowl. But the problem is the Broncos have never put the talent on the roster to refollow the mentality that worked for. We've seen the Rams do it, but they built it on young and expiring contracts. They built the roster first, went out, got Stafford. You say the Bucs did it. The Bucs built it on a rookie contract. They built it around cheap and inexpensive deals. They went and got Tom Brady. The Broncos have tried to do that with every veteran quarterback. The problem is the Broncos didn't build the roster to be as successful as what the Bucs did. They didn't build it to be as successful as what the Los Angeles Rams did to open those incredibly small windows first. They built those big free agent contracts on having a cheap and inexpensive quarterback at first. Jared Goff got his extension, then got moved. But if you look at teams, you look at Cincinnati, they've built the quarterback. They've been able to build a solid roster
around
the rookie contract. You look at Buffalo, they've been able to build a solid roster around a rookie quarterback. They've been able the list goes on and on and on. If we look at the playoffs last year, only 2 teams I think had veteran quarterbacks. That's it.
Yeah.
The rest of them they're not veterans, but they've come off of rookie deals. They've been drafted quarterbacks. Trevor Lawrence, Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow, Jalen Hurts,
Patrick Mahomes. All these guys are teams that were drafted by that team, and they built around them with rookie contracts. That's the way you do it.
It's longevity. That's how you
it is longevity because look at Kansas City now. Look at Kansas City.
Is their Super Bowl window 3 to 4 years?
No, it's not.
It's not. They're the exception. We'll be honest. They are an exception to the rule. But if you look at it, just Josh Allen or Joe Burrow, it is likely going to be.
I'm not even going to talk about this. Do you want Fields over Surtain or not? So what? That's in the past.
That's past.
We're looking forward, Kurt. Stop living in the past. We're going forward.
I could address it. If you looked at it, would you rather be in a position where the Bears are in, where they tried Fields, it failed, but have this plethora of resources and draft capital and cap space? Or would you rather be in the position where the Broncos are with this significant consecutive
we can say the same thing.
And be negative 19 million in with only 6 draft picks. It's kind of the same. So my question is,
how many of our free agent quarterback signings have worked?
None. One.
Yeah, one. Peyton Manning. That's it.
And he's an exception to the rule because he's a top 5 quarterback of all time.
Right.
Tom Brady is the exception to the rule. He's a top 5 quarterback of all time. And he's the greatest quarterback of all time.
And Kirk comes in here and says we have no plan. What do you mean we have no plan?
Oh, no, don't even address it.
Don't even.
Do you want my plan out in a couple of weeks? Don't get derailed. The show's over.
That's right.
Don't get derailed. You'll see my plan in a couple of weeks. Let the trade deadline happen. Let me get a good idea of what assets we're going to have. Because right now we don't have very many assets to formulate a consistent plan that is built for longevity. Because right now we don't have longevity. Right now we don't. If you say our 3 to 4 window, let's just put it this way: if there's a 3 to 4 window, and that window started when Russell Wilson came, so far a season and a half into it, we've gotten 5 wins. There's not a Super Bowl window right now. There's not. So, anyways, it's been real. It's been fun.
It has. Thanks everybody for joining. Thanks for, participating, throwing your comments in. I know sometimes we get a little heated, but that's what 7 going on 8 years of losing with the Denver Broncos has done to all of us,
Yeah. I my last comment that I'll have for the night before I sign off. Speaking to my friends that are Broncos fans, seeing the chats through all of the Broncos community groups, seeing the Reddit, seeing the Twitter line, seeing everywhere you could see people talk about the Broncos, I have never seen a fan base that has been more depleted and defeated of hope than I do right now. We have fans booing our own team again this season. We look at the empty seats. Look at it. This is not built for success. Nothing we have done has been built for success. We are not close. We are a bad football team.
We're not even close.
When I feel like I can't even watch the team anymore, and I will always watch them. But
it's disheartening at times. So, and I'm just going to say this, hey, again, thanks for coming. You guys, you want meaningful and accurate Bronco information? Make sure you tune in to Broncos Weekly with Matt Staffiero and myself. We're going to give you guys the truth. It may not be pretty at times, but we're not going to sugarcoat things.
Nope. We'll keep it real with you.
Yeah.
And like I said, Kurt, turn in 2 weeks because I have a plan that keeps your buddy Russell here. 2 weeks. 2 weeks. Give me 2 weeks. All righty, guys. Have fun till next time. We'll see you next week.
Everybody, thank you.